In Canada, depending on where you live, having a car to get around can be essential to your way of life. Generally, city centers and suburb neighborhoods are well connected by public transit, and you may not experience difficulty while traveling to work or going to grocery store. However, if you live further away from the city center, or if you need to transport items or people for work, owning a car can be a necessity. I always tell people that having a car, depending on who you are, can be an asset or a liability. You don't just have to say having a car is a liability. I've seen people buy cars that have turned out to be liabilities. Others have bought cars that turn out to be assets. It's all about the mindset behind your reasoning for buying a car. So for a newcomer who just landed in Canada, buying a car or leasing a car can require a substantial financial commitment, as there are many one-time and recurring costs with car ownerships. So in this video, I felt it to be right to share with you some tips to help assist you when it comes to this buying process. My first tip when it comes to you buying a used car will be to consider your needs and wants whilst deciding on the type of car that you want. So as you decide on the type of car, take that time to think about the factors such as the size of your family, the purpose of buying the car, and even your budget, because that is going to be key in the type of car that you end up choosing for yourself. Possibly what you can even do is outline all your must-haves, then you also outline all your good-to-have features in the car that you want to pick. Possibly you can even add your fuel consumption or even the mileage that you are targeting. You can even look at your trunk storage, safety rating, the size of the car, and possibly even the resale value. This will help you to save time and assist you in narrowing down on some of the options when it comes to picking your car of your choice. My second tip will be browse your options online before going directly to a dealer or even a private seller. So once you've identified the type of car that you want to buy, it is worthwhile to look up a few options online for various makes, models before approaching a dealer or even a private owner. Car listing websites and individual dealership websites can serve as a good starting point for your research. In my case, what I did was I made sure I researched all dealerships, even check on private sellers to see what kind of options that are available out there, because what that one does is it helps me to even narrow down my options and even refine my preference. So look at options available for the same make and model in specific areas, sometimes even neighborhoods, and compare costs. Read about consumer reviews. This is going to be very key because it will allow you to check comparisons and identify sellers that offer the best value and pricing for the vehicle of your choice. Also, be sure to investigate the seller's reputation and look into the exchange policies, warranties, and etc., especially when it has to do with a used car. And if you are considering offline options, you can check or even look at local newspapers or classified sections, buying guides, or even used car sales, public auctions, and sometimes even your local car dealerships. Those are places that possibly you can choose to look at whilst doing your research if you want to go the offline options. But I will throw a note of caution here. One thing that you have to be aware of is that buying from private sellers can be risky, as you could be scammed. If you are spending more than $3,000 on a used car, it is recommended to at least go to a dealership. Additionally, when you are buying from a private seller, I advise that you hire a mechanic to have a full inspection before you pay any money or sign any paperwork. Private cars are generally sold as is, and there are no refunds and there are no guarantees. So basically, if you are buying from a private seller, the moment you hand over the money to that person, that deal is actually done, because the person is selling the car to you as it is, and if you pay the money, that deal is done. Any issues that you have with that car, it will end up being your own problem. My third tip that I will give you in this car buying process is plan your finances. Budget for your car ownership costs. Beyond the ownership and the maintenance costs, used cars can call for a little extra attention from time to time. Budgeting for these additional expenses will help stay on top of your finances, because I've seen people buy cars without having this particular planning process, which end up making them go bankrupt one way or the other, because there are extra costs that's coming with the car that they have not actually budgeted for. So one thing that I would advise is do your research and know the cost that comes associated with the car that you are buying so that you don't end up incurring extra costs. A quick tip that I will give you here is you can use the Canadian Automobile Association, that's the CAA's driving cost calculator, to calculate some of the fixed costs, variable costs, and even the environmental costs that will come with possibly the vehicle based on your driving habits and your current fuel price. I will leave that link in the description area. You can use that one to help you in your research process. My tip number 4 will be decide on your mode of payment and explore car financing options. You can make the payment for your car in cash or use available financing options from a dealer or even a financial institution. If you are paying cash, it is helpful to set an upper limit so that you don't overspend. If you are using financing option, you have some flexibility because you won't be paying a lump sum amount. While considering financial options, I would say look for any hidden or extra fees or ask for a detailed breakdown of the cost from the dealership so that you have a full idea of the things that they are charging you for. Because in most cases, even though they tell you that the car is going to cost you, let's say 20,000, when it's time to pay, you realize that you're not actually paying 20,000. There has been extra costs that have been added, and sometimes those extra costs can add up to as high as even about between 15 to 20% of the amount that you were initially quoted. And if you decide that maybe you want to look at the financing options, some factors that can affect the interest rates on the car loan that you might be offered are: the first one will be your credit score, because a good credit score rating can fetch you an attractive interest rate. Secondly, the age of the vehicle. The newer the car, the better the interest rates that they might offer you. That's why sometimes some people will weigh the options and realize that based on the choice of car that they want, it might make more sense for them to go for a newer car. Then also, certified used car is something that you might have to consider, because a certified used car is a vehicle program mostly offered by the dealerships. These cars might be slightly expensive, but they provide you with access to various benefits such as a more comprehensive reconditioning program, an extended warranty, and they may include even a lower interest rate. That's why sometimes some people go for this certified used car. Tip number 5, and this one is key, and I've seen people make this mistake. This one is get a detailed vehicle history report for the used car. Before buying a car, it is essential to get a detailed report, one from sites such as Carfax or even AutoCheck, which includes things like accident history, services, or even maintenance history, and the number of previous owners. You will be shocked the amount of information that you can get from most of this history, because a pre-purchase inspection report is also recommended. This report can inform you about the cosmetic, mechanical, and safety conditions of the car. You can then use this knowledge while negotiating the price of the car. So whether you are buying from a private dealer or even a car dealership, getting these reports might go a long way to help you in your decision making process. However, note that these reports might not contain details on collision repairs if the previous owner could not fix them without going through their insurance. That is, if the person decided not to go through their insurance to fix those repairs and maybe they did it on their own on the side, those repairs might not show up in the history reports. But generally speaking, up to half of all collisions go unreported. So that's something that you have to know. You can also get a mechanic to also inspect the car. You will be shocked the number of people who have made a decision not to buy a car because they went with a mechanic who found out things that their common eye could not see. Inspections normally cost about $100, but can save you thousands of dollars in unexpected maintenance. Also, it's advisable possibly to do a vehicle identification number check. It will tell you such details as the year, model, and manufacturing location of the car. The VIN can typically be found on the inside of the driver's door jamb and the windshield. There are a variety of free tools online that can help you possibly to decode a VIN number. And also inspect the car for any visible dents, cleanliness, or other physical damage. Be sure to ask questions about service, warranty, and the reason for selling the car, and you can compare some of the answers that the seller is giving you to what you have seen in the history of that particular car. That will help you to know whether this person is a seller that you can trust or not. Tip number 6 will be make sure you test drive the car before buying. No matter how perfect a car appears to be, always take it for a test drive before you buy it. My advice is plan a familiar route and test actions that you would normally do whilst driving. Drive the car at different speeds, check the brakes, see if you feel comfortable parking the car, and try using the car's accessories. Tip number 7 that I will give you is research the market price for the car make and model and negotiate accordingly. Before you negotiate, make sure you have researched the market value for the car you intend to buy and take into consideration other factors that may impact the price. Websites such as Kelly Blue Book and the Canadian Black Book are good places to look up. Also, depending on whom you are buying the car from, there may or may not be room for negotiation. In comparison to dealerships, some car dealers and private sellers are more open to negotiate the price of the car. Most dealerships are not open to any negotiations. The sticker price is basically what they are asking for, and there's no room to negotiate. Most of the major dealerships have the best price up front and do not negotiate because they want to get a car off their lot. If the price of the vehicle is fixed, you can sometimes negotiate with add-on products such as rust proofing, winter tires, or other upgrades and accessories. That's one trick that I have always done in the past, where if there's no room to negotiate, I will always ask for other things to be added on to the car if it's possible. And also, like I said before, do keep an eye out for any extra fees in the sales contract. Always make sure you are reading the fine print. And lastly, as with any negotiations, be prepared to walk away from the deal. Tip number 8 is closing the deal. Make sure you read up and be aware of the provincial guidelines for buying a used car and accessories. When buying a car through dealership, the dealer usually completes all the paperwork and guide you on the financing options. However, if you are buying a car from a private seller, make sure the title and registration are all transferred to you. The guidelines and process for completing the sale of a used car can differ from province to province. Hence, it is essential to refer to respective province and territorial websites for detailed information about buying a used car so that you have a full understanding of what you need to do before you even make a decision to buy a car. And whilst we are talking about buying a car, it will be good to also advise you on driving with children in your car. Transport Canada recommends kids to stay in the back seat until they are at the age of 13. Each Canadian province or territory has certain guidelines for driving with children in the vehicle. I will leave a link to the Canadian Transport website for you to learn about all the safety alerts and notices for car seats so that you can get yourself informed and not commit any crime. Because if you are caught driving with a child without a car seat, you might get yourself a fine. And when it comes to car seats, there are 3 types of car seats that you need to be familiar with. There is a stage 1, which is the rear facing car seats, legally required across Canada for all children from birth until reaching the weight of about 20 pounds. Then there's stage 2, that's the forward facing seats, which must always be installed with the rear tether strap in use so that it doesn't lift away from the back seat of the car just in case of a crash. Then there's the stage 3, which is the booster seat. It is recommended to put this off for as long as possible because the seat is no longer doing any of the work to keep the child safe at this stage. I know moving to a new country is exciting, and each day can be a learning experience. Whether you are an experienced driver or a car owner in your home country, or if you recently got a driver's license, knowledge of the local norms and the financial options will enable you to find your ideal vehicle for you and your family. If you got value out of this video, kindly hit the subscribe button if you haven't to join this family as we learn together. And also feel free to share this video with family and friends so that we can all learn together. Until the next video, cheers.